It's another week, it's another round of the iR-04 Challenge Series. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to Friday Night Primetime, where we continue our adventure around the world. Tonight, we conclude our American stretch of the season with Road Atlanta, a circuit filled with its own challenges and taken at high average speeds with the nimble nature of the iR-04s. With a lot of action on the cards, it will be myself, Zach Sweeney, and Cameron Roger talking you through every moment with Connery Maddock behind the scenes. And, well, Cam, the season has set the bar high, so today surely is no different.
Yeah, it's been amazing so far. This car really just produces some amazing racing, and we're going to some of the best tracks that there are in the world. So yeah, it's just an amazing combination as well. As you see the 12 tracks on screen, it's just an awesome season here for season 3.
Yeah, we have come to expect good racing at pretty much every venue that we go to, and as we say, week in, week out, it just goes to show the versatility of such a car and how you can put it on any venue and it will just produce action. Of course, as I said, we're rounding off our American stretch of the season, but we still go to some iconic venues, the likes of Brands Hatch Spa, the Nürburgring, Alton Park, Hockenheimring, Suzuka and Imola. A lot of historical circuits on the calendar, but not only do they boast history and fame, they also produce some really good action. So a lot to look forward to in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, so this calendar actually is pretty good, because last season we had a few sort of Mickey Mouse tracks here and there, but this we've got some of the big sort of more Grand Prix and endurance layouts on the calendar. So yeah, I can't really wait to see how the cars are going to work over the course of those. But of course, it is Road Atlanta today, which is just such an amazing track. It's fast, it's flowing. You can push the car to the limits. You can really feel the grip of the tyres and all the aero that comes through the fast corners as well. So yeah, it should be a great race.
We were talking about how it really can be just a slipstream fest around the circuit. Of course, in cars like the iR-04, most of the corners here are taken at such high speeds. You're not on the brakes for very long, and yeah, it's you've got this long back straight towards the final chicane that we're riding on board with Nick Thiston through now. He at the moment provisional pole with a 120.705, and while in a sense we've seen the similar venues that boast slipstream fests, like the likes of Red Bull Ring, etc. And while they did produce some really good racing, but it is usually the case with these types of venues that it always comes down to those last crucial couple of moments, because you get a move done a little bit earlier on. It's like, okay, you can then be set up for a counter-attack in a couple laps time. So it's not exactly like you're going to be keeping the position early on. You don't want to be going for those do or die moments early.
Yeah, you certainly want to be spreading the gaps behind you. And here, Matt Caruana, he's done quite a few of the recent weeks, and you'll see, especially if you see the racing style that he has put on towards the front of these races, you often don't battle the hardest in those first couple of moments in the race. You really want to keep yourself there as he goes up into 5th position, but 6/10 off the pole position. You really want to be focusing on the longevity, having yourself there at the end of the race to battle in the last few laps.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just playing the long game and thinking about where you can be in those final 5 minutes, because that's all that matters really. You can lead the race on lap 1, as long it doesn't matter at all if you don't leave it coming across the line. This is Lewis McGlade again, representing the microphone for yet another week here in the iR-04 Challenge Series. Gets himself up into P5, so while he likes to play it a little bit humble, doesn't he? He likes to say, oh no, I'm not very quick. He's certainly not doing too bad, and well, his close friend Daniel Kell down in P8 as well. So a bit of a tight rivalry going on between the two of them, but it is just there's a lot of we were talking last week with William McIntyre, Callum Boyes and Ryan McKellop, and a lot of the drivers on the grid do share themselves in a couple of Discord calls. Keeps it nice and friendly, keeps the competition positive, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, while this isn't like a formal championship as such, it's good to see that there's multiple drivers coming back every single week, coming back, having a nice battle on track, and as you say, some rivalries coming to and from that, which is always good. But it's slightly surprising to see Lewis up there in fifth place, because normally Dan can be that just tiny little bit faster than him, but hopefully those two can have a good battle over the course of the race along with the other drivers. And here is one of them, Dan Blake, coming across the line, but he actually does improve by quite a bit there, by about 3 seconds on his previous lap time, up into 13th.
Yeah, well, you certainly have to make all the lap times count where you can, and of course, with it being such a short circuit, as a lot of it being so fast and flowing as well, you have to maximize every opportunity you possibly can.
Yeah, the opportunities, they often come quite quickly in this car. There's often quite a lot of times where you can do the overtake and make moves, have a good corner, that sort of thing. But you really have to judge it to perfection in this car, to not get yourself too close to drivers, or not really sort of hold yourself up in sort of the awkward parts of the track. You really got to time it and make yourself sort of being quick at the right parts of the race.
Yeah, again, it will come down to those mind games that you play. And while we approach the end of qualifying, of course, you only get 2 laps in iRacing. It is very, very crucial indeed to make sure you maximize each and every single one of them while we're just waiting for the final couple of people to come across the line and wait for qualifying to actually get to the checkered flag. Of course, those 2 laps, always very crucial, because again, it's going to be such a slipstream fest that in a pack, while it's slipstream fest are good and all for racing towards the front, in that midfield it can be really, really difficult to get a pass done.
And the midfield is normally where those tighter battles are. Often you have the maybe top 3-4 drivers who are that sort of maybe a little step ahead of the pack, but you have that mid pack. There's often a load of drivers there who are just a tenth of a second away from each other, and this car can really allow sort of following closely and really some close battles.
And that those are the close battles we've come to know and love. And well, I certainly look forward every week to a bit of these iR-04s. They are always putting on a good show. We are going to get the grid lineup up in just a second to see how they do line up after that 8-minute qualifying session. I can tell you it was Nick Thyssen on pole position. He put in a pretty stunning lap time to take, I think, his first pole position that we have broadcasted here on Friday Night Primetime. And there is the confirmation, a 1:27.05 for the number 4. He'll be joined by Kevin De Pauw on the front row there in P2. Niels van Handel and Alfie Bredick will make up the second row in P3 and P4. Lewis McGlade up there rounding off the top 5. He'll be joined with Matt Caruana there in 6th place. Pierre Bourdon, P7, with Daniel Kell there rounding off the 4th row to the right-hand side of Pierre. Roosendahl and Dumoulin round off the top 10 in P9 and 10 respectively. Sam Peacock and Dylan Freckleton 11th and 12th. 1.3 seconds only covering the top 12. Should be a really good race indeed. De Rosa and Blake 13th and 14th. Rosalada and Lindley rounding up together as well. Pilar and Neil Reed 17th and 18th. Neil Reed there not setting a lap time, I don't think. Not entirely sure if there is anyone left to round off the grid towards the back. So we have got Leo Calavita in P19. So a big grid, a very competitive grid as well, Cam. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good race. This track is just amazing. Awesome to see it on the calendar. It works in so many different types of cars, and fast open wheels, slow open wheels, endurance racing, GTs, everything seems to work around here just because of the fast flowing nature of it. But you do have those sorts of slower corners where you can make up that little bit of time and get the best exits as well. So it comes down to everything in this series, and hopefully we'll see a nice race today, which I'm sure we will, because we always see some nice close battles here in the iR-04.
20 minutes then will be put onto the clock, however many laps they can finish in that time. It's a 20-minute sprint showdown here for yet another round of the iR-04 Challenge Series. It's Nick Thyssen on pole, Kevin De Pauw alongside him as we wait for the 5 red lights to go out. The flag will be waved and we'll be underway for yet another round here at Road Atlanta. And there they go. Nick Thyssen gets a pretty good launch there from pole position. The number 2 of Van Handel trying to put some pressure on Kevin De Pauw as they barrel their way towards turn 1 for the first time. Cold tires, you've got to watch out for him. That concertina effect as they try and run their way through. There's Lewis McGlade in the number 8 trying to make up some progress as well. Got himself up into P4, so a good start there, but he's running side by side with Caruana as they go towards turn 3 and in towards the S's for the first time. There's Caruana getting the measure of Lewis McGlade, and also with Bredick trying to as well capitalise on those early moments, but seemingly seems to be a runaway start for Nick Thyssen so far, but the crucial part is to get into rhythm, get those tyres warmed up, and try and break away.
McGlade there goes a little bit wide as well, coming out of the S's up through turn 5. It's such an important corner because it actually has a pretty long straight after it. It looks like Brady going down the inside, but not quite able to on the brakes. McGlade around the outside manages to hold on that one, but we've seen already a pretty clean and safe start, which is good to see as the driver's just working their way into this race.
No major incidents as of yet, but look out for this slipstream down this back straight towards turns 10 and 11, or 9 and 10 I should say, or 10A and 10B actually, because America is weird. Here comes Brady looking to up and move on Lewis McGlade. He pulls to the left hand side, or given the inside for the downhill run towards the chicane. Also move for Caruana on handle as they Constantina their way through into 10A and 10B. Move done there for the number 1, moves himself up on into the podium places, and now has his eye set on the top 2, Nick Thyssen, Kevin Apau and Caruana. 1, 2 and 3 as you round off lap number 1. Nick Thyssen already being put onto the defensive, moves back over to the left hand side. McGlade under pressure from Dan Kell as well. He concedes that one, doesn't want to run in to his into his good mate, but I'm sure they're going to be having gloves off racing. But McGlade really got a good initial launch, but now just falling backwards.
Yeah, it's not always side by side here through the S's. That is what we want to see for the lead there. Number 13 Powell on the outside, still side by side as Thyssen manages to hold on, but this is going to be going on as Caruana gets up into second place as well.
That's the danger of going for a move when you're so tightly locked in a pack. You can quickly move back, and well, Van Handel trying to capitalise on it as well. Powell has gone from fighting for the race lead to off the podium. Now Alfie Bradick is on to his rear end, and just look at the train of cars we've got stretching all the way back to 6th, maybe even 7th place, stretching as far as Lewis McGlade if he can keep his nose just in this fight. Caruana already trying to make up places, started 6th on the grid, already potentially going for a move for the race lead down and towards the chicane of 10A and 10B. The number 1 pulls to the right hand side. Nick Thyssen under a lot of pressure on this lap. Has Caruana got the legs over Nick Thyssen? He's still got the run, and well, Caruana has managed to get himself into the race lead. Nick Thyssen playing the long game and conceding on that particular occasion. Didn't quite do so with Kevin DePau. Maybe he's thinking he knows the risk of the pack behind. Fighting too hard could very easily see him fall backwards.
Yeah, I don't know how DePau almost, is going for the race lead, and now is down into 4th place, which just shows you how much you have to be on the limit here. Any little mistakes and you're going around as someone. Lindley there goes back through 10B and has obviously had a bit of a spin there. I wonder if there's some contact though, because often it's a sort of easiest corner on your own, so maybe we're going to see a bit of contact, but it does look like Lindley on their own coming through the chicane, and unfortunately I think that's going to be a big bonk on the curve. Is it? No, just losing the rear in the braking zone.
Yeah, in a bit, mate, and still rolling as well. Probably could have slammed the brakes on and got it stopped a little bit sooner, but we roll back to the live action and still to this train of cars fighting for that race lead through into turn, I believe, turn 7, onto that run down this back straight through 8 and 9, and then down towards the chicane. Nick Thyssen still in that slipstream, still fighting for the race lead. It's not all over yet, but Matt Caruana does boast a race victory. You think back to Silverstone, that number 4 though is not going to give it up at all. With the slingshot, has he got a run towards the inside? This is going to be the crucial overtaking zone where you really have to set it up, and a bit of action further back is Powell and Handel potentially, or is this actually Powell and Bradick running side by side? Powell really falling backwards, contact, that's Bradick being sent onto his roof, and well, I think he's beached it. Yeah, that rear right is gone, and he is out of this race. That is such a big shame, and I think Powell maybe with a bit of desperation, just not wanting to lose any more ground, maybe a bit too aggressive, but again, these things happen. You can see fighting so hard in this long train, defensive, and yeah, Alfie Bradick trying to get involved, trying to capitalise, and I think it was just that, Powell goes in a bit deep. It was just that slight bit of contact. These cars are really sensitive, so you can see that coming.
I'm not sure from that angle, actually. Almost looks like a bit of a racing incident on the exit. They seemed like they're both sort of leaving room, but then just the lines came across each other, which is a bit of a shame, because as you say, the car is obviously quite fragile, being an open wheel. Any sort of wheel-to-wheel contact and it sends cars flying, and generally one car is going to lose out massively, as Handel there getting that second place from Nick Thyssen, who will be just ruining a couple of mistakes here and there, but it's so easily done around this track. But for sure, he'll be able to come back, as we've seen a little bit of weaving, trying to get outside of that slipstream, but it isn't really going to work, as Nick Thyssen is getting a bit of a run towards turn 10A, but just not quite close enough in that braking zone to make any move.
That is the danger of, well, not necessarily the danger, more the inconvenience of running in a train of 3, especially when you're third place in that train, as is the case with Nick Thyssen, because you're trying to attack, you're trying to make some inroads forwards. You can't exactly overtake second place unless they make a mistake, because they have got the slipstream to be their saving grace of the car in front, in this case, Caruana, who leads the way. So I think Nick Thyssen is relying on Van Handel to put some pressure on and go for that move, so then he can capitalise in a similar way that Powell fell backwards. Thyssen wants to be one of those people that just follows him through, uses the gap, uses the lack of momentum that can be, that can happen when you run side by side, because it is such a momentum circuit when you have to keep that average speed up around here.
Look at all of the track being used there by the number 2 of Niels Van Handel, and that's getting a bit of a bad exit. So Nick Thyssen now once again is getting very close. But as you say, being in that sort of third position with Nick Thyssen, car ahead of him, getting the slipstream, but it's not going to matter because Van Handel's had a bit of a bad exit there. Nick Thyssen goes past already through turn 10, through turn 8, I should say, and then coming the way up through the back straight. Let's see if Van Handel can come back.
That is the beauty of this back straight, is that even if you make a mistake, you can quickly tuck back into the slipstream. But I don't think they're going to be too interested in fighting this one out too hard, because already Caruana has got them at an arm's length away and is able to maybe get into some clear air and just breach away. That is the thing, is you do not want to lose the slipstream of the car ahead, because it is so difficult to get back into it, especially in the case of a fast and consistent driver of Caruana, who has cut his way through this field so far. So Van Handel just needs to work with this and have that mutual agreement to say, we're not even halfway through this race yet, we're fighting over second place, let's just press on and let's go for first.
Yeah, it's certainly at the time that they don't want to let Caruana get away today. He's already getting a few car lengths, and Thyssen edge is making a bit of a wiggle on the exit of turn 3. Easily done though, because the sort of apex curve there in turn 3 is so big. You don't want to really be touching it at all, whereas the exit here through turn 5 is certainly one where you do want to use that curve. But once again, they are getting very close, coming into the important corners of 6 and 7. As always, these lead on to a very long back straight, and it looks like they're not letting Caruana get away though, because the gap seems pretty much the same.
I mean, they have gained a couple of tenths. The gap was around about 8 or so tenths at the start of this lap. Nick Thyssen is able to bring it down to around about 6 tenths, and you can see Caruana is under pressure, weaving left and right, trying to just minimise the hole in the air that he's punching to allow Nick Thyssen to just duck and stay in that just that toe hook range. He can just latch onto the rear wing and stay with him, and that is the beautiful thing about slipstream at a circuit like this, is even if you are maybe a couple of tenths off the pace compared to those around you, you can still certainly stay within the fight, provided you play your cards right and stay within that slipstream, because there's nothing Caruana can do. It's physics, you know. Nick Thyssen's got less drag, he can stay with him. He's got a bit of faster speed down straights like this, and well, and that is the thing that you have to play your cards with in terms of racing. This is Lewis McGlade able to get himself up into P5, and well, that is, I'm sorry to say it, Kevin de Powell, that is just quite embarrassing against such a driver like Lewis McGlade to lose the top 5 versus Lewis McGlade. He's a commentator. There's a reason he's a commentator. So Kevin de Powell, not entirely sure. Maybe picked up a bit of damage in some of his skirmishes. That could be an excuse. But also, it's so easy to get knocked out of your rhythm around here. As we were saying, it's momentum, it's rhythm, hop, skip, and a jump around some of these corners. And when you're phased after losing so many positions, it's so easy to get it back. Lewis McGlade going a little bit wide. Kevin de Powell trying to capitalise on it and get that P5 back towards 6 and 7. Not really where you want to go for a move. This is the all-important part.
Yeah, it's almost crazy just how close they can stay in the corners. There isn't so much of the what we call dirty air through the corners where the car behind loses a bit of performance. But let's see how that translates to this back straight. McLeod in that 5th place, as you say, trying to defend, dropped it a little bit down, getting back up. As Powell's getting the slipstream as we come towards the braking zone, but I don't think it's quite going to be close enough unless he goes for a massive send, which he doesn't do this time around. But just remember, Kevin de Powell there, he was almost leading the race at one point, and he's now down in 6th place, which just shows you how close, just how difficult it is to stay at the front.
Yeah, the tides can turn very quickly, especially in sim racing and motorsport in general. It can go your way one lap, it can go the complete opposite on the next time around, and that has happened to Kevin de Powell, who arguably maybe went for a move a little bit too early on and lost that rhythm too early on, or maybe just didn't quite have the pace. Either way, they are falling back, and as it's saying, are out so far of this race here at Road Atlanta, which is unfortunate after the promise they could have shown after qualifying. But our main focus now is this top 3 battle battle for the race lead with just under halfway to go. Nick Thiessen is putting some pressure on Matt Caruana, who has led the race for the majority of it. Nick Thiessen wants to reclaim that, and yeah, we're getting confirmation that DePauw is actually out of this race. Whether that's a disconnect, a willing retirement, or in fact has crashed, and I think that might be the case, Cam.
Oh, interesting point of the track to have one through the S's, and it's going to be a huge hit if this is going to be, say, a crash here at turn 5, going all over that inside curve, all over the exit curve as well, and yeah, unfortunately just having a... oh, actually that is a good point. The off-track is obviously quite a big sort of part of this track, and that could certainly be over the limits there already, only in the first 11 minutes or 10 minutes before that point as well. So we're getting a battle for the lead now, side by side in towards turn number 1. Nick Thiessen trying to get back up into the race lead.
Going under and over on that run towards turn 2 and 3. He is going to have the inside line for turn 3, going to opt out to go to the inside. Van Handel trying to find a way through, but for the moment, Matt Caruana holds on to that race lead. It was a good attempt from Nick Thiessen just to try and bait him, go in too deep, get the under and over. Didn't quite have the legs, but now he has yet another opportunity. As long as he can stay close, but he's not quite done that through the exit of turn 5. Van Handel might eye his chances up towards 6 and 7, or he's going to opt to stay single file. All Nick Thiessen needs is a good launch out of here. He needs to get that slingshot through 6 and 7, get that drive off, and just put your foot all the way to the floor and just hope that that slipstream carries you and has that slingshot effect down towards that chicane of turn 10A and 10B. Caruana certainly has his elbows out and he wants to defend this place.
It certainly does. The little bit of weaving isn't always the most helpful because it actually slows yourself down. But Nick Thiessen now getting a massive run, making Caruana defend all the way to the inside there of turn 10A. Thiessen to the outside, not going to be looking, trying to be getting a bit of a switchback, a bit of a better run out to the exit, down through turn 11 now. But Thiessen still not able to make that overtake. Caruana's defending this really well, able to hold on to that position, but at some point, surely he's going to be making a little bit of a mistake. But Thiessen there, still pushing him almost into turn 1.
Piling that pressure on and just trying to play that psychological warfare of baiting Caruana into a mistake. Nick Thiessen certainly knows how to race. We've seen some spectacular battles between himself and other drivers in the past here on Friday Night Prime Time, even back to the Brazilian stock cars that we had for the first half of last season. But Van Handel just sitting idle for the moment, waiting, biding his time, waiting for that golden opportunity maybe to just find a way through. Let Nick Thiessen do all the hard work here. He can chill, doesn't need to take much risk, and maybe can hope that these two in front have a bit of a collision, and that's probably the best thing he can do, is to just wait for that high percentage move to get himself to the inside, or just to try and carve his way through. But time is running out. It is a short sprint in these races, but with less than 7 minutes left to go now, Nick Thiessen needs to maybe get a bit of a shifty on and try and get up the inside.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's interesting how the slipstream works around this track, because I guess they're all running such low downforce compared to some other places as well, and that really makes the slipstream just that tiny bit less effective, but it's obviously enough to make the overtake as long as you get a good exit out of that very crucial turn 7 as the trio go through the chicane once again and then back downhill to start another lap. 6.5 minutes to go, and it's getting to that point where you're going to need to start doing a little bit of ascend, a little bit of a dive down the inside somewhere if you want to make these positions, as they're going so wide into this very fast turn 1. It's almost deceptively fast. It's completely blind as a driver, especially from the actual cockpit view. You can't really see where you're going at all. So pretty important part of the track to keep it flowing. And Thiessen once again going a little bit offline, but he seems to be able to hold the speed doing it.
It's just, going backwards to go forwards, really. If you're too close, you can't utilise that slipstream to full effect. So maybe just backing off a little bit to get the drive down towards 10A and 10B. The gap just hovering around 3.5 tenths of a second as they approach turn 6 and turn 7, and getting onto that back stretch where you are just completely flat out and hoping that slipstream can carry you all the way towards the chicane. But Van Handel certainly does look punchy, and it might get to a point, if Nick Thiessen doesn't start making some moves, Van Handel might want to take the reins and try and go for that offensive by himself. But again, it's all about working as a pair when you're trying to chase down for the race lead. But Caruana is holding his nerve very well. Is Nick Thiessen close enough? He's going to dummy to the inside. Is he late enough on the brakes? Yes, he is. Caruana gives him the space towards turn 10A and 10B. Around the outside goes Caruana. Now Van Handel tries to get himself into the situation. Can't quite get the run. But Nick Thiessen going for, I think that was more of a just one of those half-hearted attempts to the inside to try and put some pressure on. He's now lost that momentum, and now Van Handel might look to the move. Not quite. He's going to back off, just lift off and still play that patient game. But Well, yeah, Nick Thyssen, it was a good attempt, but not quite good enough.
And this is so much pressure that Matt Caruana is getting, but he's holding on for now and is really doing a good job. As we've seen so far during this season, Caruana's been at the top of pretty much all of the races and really just showing the skill that he has. But now coming through turn 5 once again, it's still just the same situation that we've seen for a couple of laps, but every lap Thyssen is trying something a little bit different. That time around, it was diving it down the inside of the chicane, trying to hope for a mistake. Let's see what we get this lap and see just how close they can be. Oh, that's a bad exit though, and this Van Handel, this could be an opportunity to jump up into second place.
Certainly could, and well, he's going to want to because he doesn't want to lose any more momentum compared to Caruana. He might actually be forced into this move. That is an unfortunate mistake for Nick Thyssen, who surely, potentially could have gone for that move. You can see Caruana actually giving the slipstream to Nick Thyssen just to try and encourage this fight a little bit more, give Nick Thyssen the legs in towards 10A and 10B, but Nick Thyssen knows just to tuck in, not to fight this one too much, and just to stay, and again, let Van Handel go for the moves. We've got just over 3.5 minutes left of this race, a couple more laps. And well, let's see what Van Handel can do. It's his turn to lead the offensive strike against Caruana, who again has put up a mighty defense against two very aggressive drivers, two drivers that certainly know what they're doing. And well, so only time will tell who's going to come out on top of this one. But it's been so close, so riveting. But yeah, how long can Caruana hold his nerve?
Yeah, it's just a couple of laps really to go. I think about 3 laps to go in this race. Maybe just sneak in the 4th, and that is certainly building up the pressure for these drivers to try and make a move. And Van Handel has put himself in a really good position there, taking the advantage of Thyssen's mistake, and now needs to make sure he's not doing that himself to try and take this victory away from Caruana, who's been holding on so good. But as you see coming through turn number 7, I mean, look how close Van Handel is, really trying to get that slipstream there as a back marker, gives a little bit of slipstream to Caruana as you come through turn 8.
He's going to want to take everything he possibly can to try and keep Van Handel at bay. You've still got a little bit of time there, but Caruana using every bit of the circuit to try and minimise that hole in the air. Has to commit to the inside. There goes the number 2. Van Handel dummies to the inside. Not quite committed enough to send one to the inside, but still enough to put that pressure on and maybe bait Caruana into a mistake. Still very much close enough as they go downhill through turn 11 and 12. Well, he's very close to the rear end of that number 1 car. Nick Thyssen also still there, defensive once more. Goes Caruana. Can Van Handel go all the way around the outside of turn 1? It's going to be a very difficult affair. Instead, going to opt to try and go underneath him. And well, this is finally the offensive we've been asking for. Cam still side by side.
As we come into turn 3, which is a very difficult corner, but it looks like Handel's managed to make it work. No, he hasn't on the exit. Now Thyssen comes round 3 wide as we come through the S's, but somehow they are still in the same positions. Caruana leads from Handel in that 2nd place, and Thyssen right behind as this is really starting to heat up. As actually there, Caruana makes a bit of a mistake. Now Handel going towards the outside, coming down towards turn 7. It's very difficult to go around the outside here, but Handel, this is the best opportunity he's had at this part of the race, side by side through turn 7, but he manages to just hold on to that 2nd place and not lose out to Thyssen, but onto the back straight we go.
Elbow is out, and he was muscled nearly off the circuit there by Caruana, who is using every bit of that circuit to keep him at bay, squeezing him to the right-hand side. Van Handel forces the gap open, pries it open with his front wing and says, I'm coming through whether you like it or not. Are they going to be 3 abreast? Caruana, very late defence. Nick Thyssen doesn't really know where to go, whether it's through the middle. Caruana might lose 2 places here. Van Handel into the race lead, the number 1 Caruana going to send one back up the inside. Nick Thyssen going to sit idle, maybe go for the double under and over on the pair of them as they potentially run 3 abreast, coming on to the final lap through turn 11 and turn 12. Caruana all the way to the left. Van Handel trying to finesse his way through the middle. Nick Thyssen back into the race lead. White flag lap last time round with only a minute left to go here at Road Atlanta, and Handel still on the inside. Caruana still trying to keep him at bay, and that is exactly the opportunity Nick Thyssen was waiting for.
And this is what we like to see, side-by-side racing, respective racing as well. It's amazing to see as Caruana still holds on to that 2nd place. Somehow Van Handel, instead of being in the lead, is now back down into 3rd place. This is absolutely crazy. As you saw, 3 wide for many hundreds of meters. It's amazing to see as we come onto this last lap through turn 5, up and over the hill, and somehow Thyssen has got himself back into the lead. He just needs to hold on, but the slipstream down this back straight is going to be so difficult. We saw last time 3 wide coming in towards the braking zone. I'm sure we're going to see it again.
Yeah, final lap, final opportunities for 2nd and 3rd. Caruana and Handel. All Nick Thyssen has to do, our pole sitter just has to hold his nerve and keep them at bay for only I think 4 more corners left. of this race at Road Atlanta. To the left-hand side, committing to a defensive line. Caruana to the right-hand side is going to be the long way round. We'll give him the inside. The back marker getting perilously close to the pair of them. Caruana has got the legs to the right-hand side. The long way round gives him the inside for 10B. He is going to get that move to the inside. And well, here comes Van Handel, going to mug Nick Thyssen off in towards the penultimate corner, the final corner, and through turn number 12. Matt Caruana from 6th on the grid is going to take the checkered flag here at Road Atlanta. Van Handel comes in second, and Nick Thyssen from the race lead into that final chicane got overtaken twice and down to P3. Daniel Kell will come home P4, followed by Lewis McGlade to round off the top 5, a battle between Blake and Bourdon as they round off in 7th and 8th as well. And well, what a race that was, and yet another triplet here, the battle for 9 between De Rosa and Zalada in towards turn 12. It is a short run to the line, so you can't exactly get drag races as you might like to see, but yeah, well, what a race that was between our top 3.
Yeah, that final chicane is crazy. We saw all race. They must have just been lifting off that tiny bit because the slipstream was enough to get close, but not to have a dive. But in those last 3 laps, everyone was staying flat out. They were going for it. They were braking late and trying absolutely everything, especially that penultimate lap. Caruana sending it back down the inside, making it 3 wide on the exit as well. Thyssen coming through, thinking he was going to lead on that final lap, but then coming back to the chicane once again. It all swapped around, and somehow Thyssen there ending up in that 3rd place as well. So just amazing that we can see such close racing. It works. This car just works on so many different tracks. It's yeah, such amazing to see that we can have close racing.
Absolutely, and well, after those 15 laps, it was Matt Caruana who took the win ahead of his 2 competitors of Niels Van Handel and Nick Thyssen, who round off the podium. Daniel Kell and Lewis McGlade round off the top 5, 4 and 5, with Maxime Dumoulin in P6 and Dan Blake P7. Pierre Bourdon in P8, with De Rosa and Zalada rounding off the top 10. Looking outside of the top 10, Sam Peacock P11 with Patrick Roosendahl P12. Neil Reed from quite far back on the grid up to P13. Colavita in P14. Alex Lindley P15. Kevin DePauw, an unfortunate disconnect or a DQ rather, only managed 16th place. Cuella in P17. Alfie Bradick, who was on his roof in the first couple of laps, couldn't manage to get to the checkered flag for obvious reasons, and Dylan Freckleton rounds off the grid in P19. The fastest lap, Niels Van Handel, a 1:20.325, and yeah, you're completely right in saying, Cam, that just was a stellar battle. These cars can go anywhere and race just as well, but it really was that lack of momentum that we were talking about all race long that was the detriment to Nick Thyssen.
Yeah, just not able to hold it out of turn 7 and 8 there on that final lap, but unfortunately that is just how it goes sometimes. But once again, a great race here in the iR-04, and I can't really wait to see how it's going to go next week now, because the races just keep coming here in Season 3, and it's good to see just how good a season we are having.
Absolutely, and while that does round off our action here tonight at Road Atlanta for the iR-04 Challenge Series, we are back next week, same time, and well, we cannot wait to have you if you are going to join us once again. It's a vastly different circuit in the form of Brands Hatch. We travel to the UK, and it's very tight and twisty. Not a lot of opportunity to really get those overtakes done, but again, I'm sure we will see equally good action. It has been myself, Zach Sweeney, in the commentary booth, joined by Cameron Roger, with Connery Maddock behind the scenes pushing the buttons, giving you the production feed on what was one of the top races of the season. The bar is incredibly high, and yet week in, week out, this series delivers. And as I said, same time next Friday, and we certainly cannot wait. On the behalf of myself and Cam, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you next week. Take care, and bye-bye.